Hey guys, I'm Robert. I don't know if any of you use the clipboard stacking feature in Macrowhisper, but there's something new here. Let me show you. I'll start a dictation, and in the middle of it, I will gather different pieces of text from a couple of different tabs. I got content related to productivity, some other content related to notebooks, and some other stuff related to dictation. Hey, I need you to put together a simple outline for an article based on the different pieces of content I am giving you in my clipboard. Find connections even though the topics may be unrelated. Make sure to include which clipboard the content came from. I stop my recording. The AI will come out with an outline, and as you will see, it covers all the different pieces I provided. It even mentions the different clipboards. Let me show you what Superwhisper actually received. I created this small window with Better Touch Tool, by the way. It shows me whatever I need from Superwhisper dictation files. Here we see that the AI not only got my voice, it got all the different pieces that I collected from different sources before I finished talking. I'll walk you through how this works and show you a few other things that are new in the latest Macrowhisper update that just came out. For those of you who are new here, Macrowhisper is a CLI app I built that sits on top of Superwhisper for Mac and lets you build automations. You dictate, Superwhisper transcribes and cleans up with AI, then Macrowhisper takes that result and does something with it. It can work just like Superwhisper, pasting into whatever app you're in, but it can also run scripts, trigger shortcuts, open URLs, and a bunch of other things. If you haven't seen this before, I will link some related videos in the description. I'm not covering the setup here since that hasn't changed, but this latest version introduced a lot of new stuff, and I want to go over a few things that stand out. I will not be able to cover everything here, but the documentation has been completely rewritten and reorganized, so you can always check that out for more details. Let me go back to what I was just showing you and explain how it works. Superwhisper has a feature called Clipboard Context Capture. When it's enabled in a mode, whatever you place in your clipboard during dictation gets sent to the AI as extra context. The thing is that it only allows you to capture one thing. If you copy again, it replaces that previous capture. Macrowhisper has had clipboard stacking for a while, and I explained how it works in a video I am linking in the description. I will activate it here, since this is a totally new configuration. I will save. The next step is to use it as a placeholder inside of an action. Let me set that up right now. I'll type in terminal Macrowhisper add insert context. The name can be anything. My new insert action gets added to the configuration file, and all I need to do is use clipboard context here. That's it. This will expand into whatever group of things I copied during my dictation. In an action like this by itself, it may not be of much use, but now the new thing is that Macrowhisper has a CLI flag for placing this in your clipboard. I'll go to Keyboard Maestro and create a new macro. Set it to run with a hotkey, let's say Option G. For the action, I want to run a shell script. Macrowhisper copy action and the name of the action I created in my configuration, which is context. You could do this with Alfred, Raycast, Better Touch Tool, or similar. I think a lot of users haven't really looked into the CLI flags Macrowhisper supports, but they open up some great workflows like this one. Now, whenever I run my macro, the contents of the context action will be copied. This means that if I'm using a Superwhisper mode with clipboard context enabled, it will receive it. Let me try what I did before step by step. This is a quick test. Right now I copied from one source. Now from the second. And finally, the third. I am pressing my Keyboard Maestro shortcut. In a short bullet list, tell me what do you see in my clipboard. Notice that I gave it about a second from the moment I triggered the shortcut for the macro to the moment I finished my dictation. I have noticed that Superwhisper won't catch the stack if I'm too close to the end. Still, since you can provide more context like this, I think it's a great way to expand Superwhisper's capabilities if you like using it as an assistant. With this update, we also got some more placeholders. Instead of clipboard context, you could send app vocabulary, which grabs names and terms from your current window. If you have a custom mode in Superwhisper, you could instruct the AI to use this for fixing spelling in your dictation. Superwhisper already has something similar built into app context, but not with this level of granular control. If you'd rather not deal with CLI flags or third-party automation apps like Keyboard Maestro, Learning what you can do with placeholders is still very useful with the built-in triggers alone. For example, here I still got the clipboard context placeholder I showed you a moment ago. I will also add the content of my dictation here, which is SW result. Now I will insert 2 line breaks like this. In this update, we also got triggers for URLs, so I will set chatgpt.com here. I'll be using a voice-only mode without any AI processing. Right now, my active action is the regular auto paste. This means that for normal dictations, Macrowhisper will behave just like Superwhisper. Even if I copy something in the middle of my dictation, it makes no difference. I finish in a text field and my result gets dropped in there. No triggers have kicked in for this dictation. But if I start dictating something I want to send to ChatGPT, I can gather context in a similar way, collecting stuff while recording. I just need to make sure that I finish my dictation in the URL I set as a trigger. There we go. You can see that my clipboard stack was included. Using this with Parakit without any LLM processing is almost instant. Another cool thing with a clipboard context placeholder is that if it's empty, it will not even appear in the result. The new URL triggers in this release should be considered experimental. I have tried to support the most popular browsers, but if yours isn't working, just open an issue on GitHub and I'll see if I can add it. Now, the biggest change to be aware of in this update, and the one that matters most if you have been using the app for a while, is that there have been some changes to the configuration semantics. In other words, some settings have changed what they actually mean or how they affect the app's behavior. To be totally honest with you, this is my first project like this. And since I'm an absolute beginner, over time I realized some of the configuration rules were not clear enough or made little sense, even to me sometimes. So in this update, a few things have been renamed for consistency and clarity. Most of you don't need to do anything. I suggest keeping auto update config set to true, so Macrowhisper can always handle this kind of migration. In this case, since the change is kind of big, whenever you install the new version and restart the service, it will back up your previous file and update whatever fields are necessary. I know some more advanced users prefer to keep configuration auto updates off and handle all edits manually, and I get it, but even if you're in that group, I would still suggest letting Macrowhisper handle it. If you still prefer to do it yourself, everything that's changed is in the release notes and documentation. By the way, I think this is a good time to remind you that if you are using an IDE like Cursor or VS Code that supports JSON schemas, you can always hover around your configuration and see descriptions or examples of values for each different field. I find this useful even for myself. The idea with Macrowhisper is that new users can install the app and immediately get the same behavior as Superwhisper. As you get more comfortable with the different options, you can start introducing more triggers and actions. You don't have to jump into the complex stuff right away. Something that was missing from the default Superwhisper behavior in Macrowhisper was smart insertion. This has now been introduced with 3 settings: smart casing, smart punctuation, and smart spacing. They are all active by default at a global level. This means you don't have to worry about where your blinking cursor is. For example, let me move right before the end period. And Macrowhisper will adapt the content depending on the position. The app will sometimes convert the first letter to lowercase, sometimes it will remove end punctuation, sometimes it will add spacing, all based on a set of rules. If I dictate and the next letter is uppercase, then it knows it should close with a period plus space. I've been testing this a lot and trying to cover as many edge cases as possible. It still depends on the accessibility features of your front app, but overall it makes dictation a lot more convenient and reduces the number of manual edits, especially if you like doing quick, short dictations one after another. Give it a shot, and if it's not for you, you can always turn it off. This connects with something else that's new in this update: placeholder transformations. You can now apply a transform directly to any placeholder with a simple syntax. Let's say you want everything that comes out of a dictation to always be lowercase. You can set it like this. And since I want my transformation to take priority, I will turn off smart casing in this action. I know some users enjoy dictating like this everywhere. It makes everything feel much more informal and casual. Combined with voice triggers, text transformations open up some other possibilities like screaming, I am typing in a very loud voice. In the past, you have always had the option to prompt AI to give you something like this, but here we got no language model involved at all, so the results are usually faster and more predictable. Random, and you can also apply this selectively with regex replacements. For example, only one part of this sentence will come out with random casing. If the built-in text transformations aren't enough, you can now also chain actions and pass results between them. So you could dictate, have your dictation passed through a script, and then pass that to an insert action where Macrowhisper handles pasting and restoring your clipboard. It can get a bit complex, but if you're into automations, it adds another powerful layer. There's one last thing I wanted to mention. In this version, I included a bypass mode setting. The thing is that to set Macrowhisper up, you need to disable auto-paste in Superwhisper so that Macrowhisper controls everything. But recently, Superwhisper introduced the option to bypass the auto-paste setting at the mode level. That means even if auto-paste is off in Superwhisper's configuration, you can go inside one of your modes and make it go against that default. I think that's great. If for some reason you want Superwhisper to handle pasting in one specific mode, you can now disable that mode from working with Macrowhisper. I am still not covering everything that's new, but like I mentioned, the entire documentation has been updated. My plan is to still make some more videos on specific use cases because I know it can feel a bit overwhelming the first time you look at all of this. For now, I would say that a good place to start is trying the new Smart Insertion and see how it feels in your daily apps. Play around with transformations and voice triggers, and if you are already using Superwhisper's Clipboard context feature, try passing content to it with a copy action flag. Those three things alone will help you start feeling familiar with how the whole system works connected to active actions, triggers, and placeholders. If you have found a workflow with Macrowhisper that works well for you, or if there's something that's still confusing, please let me know. This tool has been amazing for my personal productivity, and I'm just hoping to make it more accessible for others. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can always sign up to my newsletter for more updates on what I'm up to. I will see you in the next one.